the waiting room and we're recording. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's Tech Tuesday about Microsoft Teams. My name is Vanessa, and I am a communications specialist with ITS. And we're here to tell you all about Teams, whether you've used it before, and are looking for ways to maybe use it more efficiently, or you've never used it before and just wondering what it's all about and how it can help you with your work here at Weill Cornell. With me, I have Rafael Supa, who's our manager of server infrastructure and kind of knows everything about our Office 365 environment, which includes Teams. So he's here to help answer questions and just help me with anything I might have missed that can basically help you use Teams, on a regular basis more efficiently. Rafael, I just want to make sure, can you see my screen okay?
I can see your screen and I can hear you fine. So I think we're ready to go. Yeah, welcome everyone.
Awesome. Thank you. Before we begin, I just wanted to point out that if you're new to Tech Tuesday, welcome. We do expect quite a few people logged into today's session. So we have muted everybody's microphones. But if you have a question at any point during the session, feel free to put it in the chat. Rafael and I will be stopping periodically to answer. And I believe Rafael will also take some time to answer some in the chat as we're going. So, feel free at any point, just any question you might have, just throw it in there and we can help as best as we can. I'm also recording today's session. So later today or tomorrow morning, you should receive a follow-up email with whatever email address you use to register. It'll include a video link to this recording so that you can go through it again and maybe even share it with some of your colleagues who might be interested in using Teams. You can review the material again that we discussed today. I'll also be including some helpful links, some guides to help you learn Teams a little more. So without further ado, let's get started. So what is Teams? So you may have heard a little bit about Teams here and there, and probably at its most basic, it's a way that you can just kind of connect instantly with your colleagues. You might call it an instant messaging tool. So if you wanted to reach out to somebody at Weill Cornell with a quick question, email might be a little cumbersome for that. You'd have to wait perhaps for them to respond. But for a quick conversation, you can always use Teams to just open up a chat window and say, hey, I have a quick question. Do you have a minute? And that person can respond back whenever they have a moment, or even right then if they've got some time. You can chat one-on-one with somebody, or you can create a group, the Teams part of Teams, so that you can, maybe collaborate a little more efficiently than through email. You can also use Teams to conduct meetings. And I know this is a very heavy Zoom environment at Weill Cornell. We're using Zoom right now, but you may feel that Teams is a better solution for kind of ad hoc meetings. You could be in a chat with somebody. Let's say I'm chatting with Rafael and we're talking about a specific project. And then we realize the chat isn't kind of working. It's maybe better to have I say face-to-face with heavy air quotes here, and we can start as a Teams meeting right away directly from our conversation and kind of hash out any details, kind of almost like a face-to-face conversation. You can use video and screen sharing, very similar to Zoom. Again, while we use Zoom a lot for scheduled meetings and to have, a large number of people and webinars and things like that, Teams is also really helpful for those kind of off the cuff meetings where you just, decide, hey, let's hash this out. Let's talk together. You can also share and collaborate with other files that you have. So what's really nice about Teams that I'll get into in a minute is that it's very integrated nicely with the Office 365 environment. So if you want to create or share a file that you've created, like in Word, an Excel sheet, even give somebody access to a file that you have in OneDrive, for example. Everything is part of that Microsoft environment. So not only can you share with other people, you can oftentimes just collaborate, usually in real time with other people on documents and work together that way, which is really, really nice. And it also helps to boost group culture. And what I mean by that is, post-COVID, I mean, a lot of us still work remotely or at least in a hybrid type of environment. And it's hard maybe to make connections with your colleagues as you did when we all worked in person. So, you can kind of create a little bit of culture that way. There's things in Teams like GIFs, stickers, emoji reactions, things like that to kind of keep it a little light, a little nice, kind of like you're having a chat in person. So why use Teams? Personally, I think the biggest reason is it just reduces those really long and kind of confusing email threads that you might normally get in Outlook. So for example, this is a screenshot I took of a team that I was recently in for SmartFest, which some of you might have attended. Thank you if you did. But the whole planning team decided to work within Teams to figure things out and to plan. So this is a screenshot from that. My conversations are in purple and everyone else is in white. But one thing you'll notice is that at the very top where that red arrow is, there are 19 people in this team. So try to imagine 19 people having a conversation in Outlook. And, for me, that just incites like an anxiety attack just because it's just too much, too many cooks in the kitchen, too many emails flying back and forth with like so many details that you can miss because, let's add this person to the thread and let's add this person. And that chaos doesn't really exist in Teams in that way. It's a little more organized. So if I message someone, for example, and said, hey, everyone, I just uploaded a bunch of photos into whatever folder we have set up. I don't necessarily need a reply for that. I'm just letting people know, and people can just respond with emojis to acknowledge that, oh, hey, thanks for doing that thing. We like it. It doesn't have to be this long thread with questions. But if people did have questions, for example, this is Kate. She was our project manager. And you'll see right here that she's actually referring to this message that I wrote here at the very top. And my name is in red right here, meaning she mentioned me in the Teams channel there. So I am personally getting a notification specifically to me that says, hey, Kate is trying to reach out to you about something. So even within these team conversations, you can point out specific people that, if you got a question for that one person, you can point to them directly instead of kind of involving everybody. And that person will be notified so that they can respond and, keep the conversation going. And another thing you'll notice with that Office 365 integration, if you send an email to somebody where you kind of need a reply, sometimes you'll get an out of office message back and you're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to get a response for, however long they're gone. But with that integration, you can actually see upfront that, hey, someone you're trying to reach out to may not actually be here right now. So, that there's this nice integration with people's Outlook calendars where you can kind of tell, who may be out for the day, who may have their do not disturb on, for example, because they might be in a meeting or doing a presentation. And it just kind of makes communication a little bit more streamlined, again, than doing it in Outlook. Teams is also very, very mobile, very on the go. So I'm going to be demonstrating how to use Teams using the desktop app from my laptop, but you can use Teams anywhere you have an internet connection. So let's say you don't have your laptop around and you really need to look at Teams because there's a message for you. You could go anywhere to any computer where there's internet and just log into your O365 account, o365.weill.cornell.edu, and open up Teams right there. And there are all your same messages. It's also available as a mobile app. So if you've got an iPhone or Android, you can just download the app from the respective app stores and just start using it from there when you sign in with your Weill Cornell credentials. Again, I've mentioned the integration a few times. I won't go too much into it since I have mentioned it, but it's just really nice that all of these tools like OneNote, OneDrive, Word, Excel, all integrate together really nicely with Teams to collaborate on files, again, in real time, which is great. So there's a few ways to access Teams. We have a web version and a desktop version, and both, at least at first, are accessible through by going to your o365.weill .cornell.edu website. And you just sign in with your CVED and password. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it to access email and other things. For the web version, you'll see a Teams icon. I'll be showing you where that is in just a moment. And you can just start working at Teams through there. If you prefer using an actual app on your desktop that you click on and it opens up, there's an install apps button. I'll show you where that is. We can download the entire Office 365 suite if you wanted to, which includes Teams. And again, same thing. If you want to use the mobile app, you just go to the App Store and also download it from there. I believe also if you have a tag device, you can go to the WCM App Store and also download Microsoft Office 365 from there. Some helpful links before we get started. You don't have to write these down. I'm going to send them to you. But these are a few locations where you can learn more about Teams. The first one is from the ITS website. That's where we put information kind of about our own license and what that includes for you, like our system requirements, things like that. So take a look at that when you have a chance. We've got some FAQs, for example, that have to do with collaborating with other institutions, things like that. And if you want to learn more about using Teams, we have my help desk, which has a bunch of knowledge-based articles written by a lot of times Raphael's team, where, they answer a lot of questions up front about how to use the application. And of course, there's always the Microsoft Office official support site. I personally use that a lot whenever I have questions about any Office tool. And they have videos, little quick guides. It's really great. So I'm going to go into the demo, but before that, are there any questions, Raphael, or anything you wanted to add?
So, Vanessa, we're getting some good questions in the chat, and I've managed to answer most of them so far. So, for example, someone asked if we'll go over the external collaboration abilities, and I think we will cover that briefly. And one great question about real-time collaboration in a file, right? So I think we'll go over that if time permits a little bit later on.
Yeah, sure. We'll definitely try to. It's a lot to show within 30 to 45 minutes with answering your questions as well. So we'll try to get to all of that. And if there's something we missed, definitely in that follow-up email, we'll try to include some things. But feel free to reach out to us as well, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. I'm actually going to turn off my video real quick to save some bandwidth. But let's get started with the demo. So the first thing I wanted to show you guys is how you can access Teams. So I just logged into my o365.weil.cornell.edu website. Yours might look similar. You might not have a cute little pink border at the top. That's fine. You can if you want to later. But so to access Teams, you could do it a few ways. You could find it right here in your sidebar, and you'll see the Teams icon, and that's going to launch the web version. If for some reason you don't see the icon right here for Teams, you can actually click this little icon here. I believe it's called a waffle icon. Correct me if I'm wrong, Raphael.
Yeah, it is.
You can click that, and it'll take you to any application that's available in your Office 365 account. So you'll see Outlook, OneDrive, Word, and Teams is right here. And as soon as you click it, that's going to enable the web version on your screen. If you want the desktop version, you can move over here to Install Apps, and you can download all of the Office 365 suite, which includes where it says Outlook, OneDrive, basically the entire, all of it, all of the applications. You can get it, including Teams. Teams is part of that. So that's how you can get it. And again, if you have a tag device, you can also go to the WCM App Store and find it there. I'm going to use the desktop version today. So Raphael, can you see my Teams application?
I sure can, yes.
Awesome. So one really quick note, sometimes we get questions about the desktop versus the web version. They're almost identical. So for all intents and purposes, it's kind of your preference, which you'd rather use. Do you want to have the desktop app and maybe take a little space on your computer, or use the web version where you need internet access, anywhere you are to get it? I will say that there are very just slight differences between the desktop and web version. And it really depends on what you want to use Teams for. For the desktop version, you can only use a desktop to blur backgrounds during video calls, for example, or conduct one-on-one call recordings. And those are things you may not really need in Teams, so it may not matter. But we'll send a list to you of what's included in the desktop version versus the web, and you can make a decision from there about what you prefer. So let me really quick say that I am back online. I'll say I'm available. All right. So this is going to be your team's dashboard, and we'll go through, kind of how it's set up so that you can find everything that you need. Right now, I'm just on a conversation with myself, which may seem a little weird, but this is a kind of a cool little space where if you wanted to share links with yourself, files, things like that, it's kind of stored in this little space where you can always access it, and it'll always be saved for you. So just something to keep in mind as you are using Teams. There is a menu here that you will be very familiar with once you start using Teams on the left-hand side, and we're going to go through all of this. So we'll start first with the chat. So the chat is probably what you're going to use the most, because that's kind of what Teams is designed to use, or how it's designed to be used. So, you're going to probably have chats one-on-one with a lot of people, or with multiple people at once. So let's start a chat with somebody. You could do that in a couple ways. One is to look for somebody. So you can look for anybody in the institution. I can start typing a name. So here's Raphael, and if I wanted to chat with him, I can just click on his name and start a conversation. I can also look for conversations that I have here on the left-hand side. I've got some pinned conversations of people that I speak with quite frequently. So I just have them kind of there ready to go. And I also have conversations like recent ones. They're just kind of here on the left-hand side for me to, just look up whenever I need. So I'm going to actually start a conversation with this Teams demo that Raphael is on the other end of. And I'm just going to say, hi, everyone. And Raphael should be receiving a notification. You'll see that when somebody sees your message, there's a little eyeball icon that lets me know that he has seen it. And there you go. Great job. Thank you so much, Raphael. So there's a couple of ways that you can, manage your chats a little bit. If I wanted to respond to Raphael, I could just respond to him here at the bottom by typing in a message, or I can even do some little emoji reactions if I wanted to. So I could give him a thumbs up, like kind of as a thank you and a quick acknowledgement. I can do a couple of things here on this little 3-dot icon here. I can reply to him. I can pin this message so I don't lose it. I can save this message if I needed to refer to it later here in my status bar. And I could share things. There's a ton of, yes, there are new emojis. I'm going to show that. That's actually my favorite part. And there's a few other actions that you can do. I encourage you to take a look when you're going through your own messages to see what you could do. Just for time purposes, there's no way we could show you everything. But as far as emojis go, since those are the most important part of Teams, everyone, there is this little button here where I can add any reaction I want. Like, so if you're familiar with emojis, just in general, you can choose from any of them. So I could respond with like a pizza if I wanted. That could be fun. There we go. Great job, pizza. So that's how the emojis work. You can kind of respond with anything there that's available in the kind of emojis library. If I wanted to type a message, like, how are we doing? Tech Tuesday, for example. You'll notice that there are a lot of icons underneath this message field. So you can do things like formatting. This looks very similar to Word, where I could maybe bold something or do bullets if I'm typing in a lot of information. I can add links. I can undo things. I can trash the whole message. Again, take a look when you have time to see what you can do with this formatting. I'm going to go through probably the ones that you'll use the most frequently. For example, you can add an attachment. You can add it from your own OneDrive, for example, or upload it directly from your computer. You can add, I think this is also for emojis. Let me just hover over that. Yep, more emojis. You can add GIFs. Again, we were talking about boosting that kind of group culture. There's stickers as well. You can schedule a meeting with that person directly from your conversation. There's things like approvals, tasks, stream. There's a lot. And I can even start a video chat right here if I wanted to. And if I click this icon, there are even more apps that I can integrate with my Teams account. and use for, I could use forms, for example, poll everywhere, which is kind of cool. And, there's so many things I could do just in this chat, which I really encourage you to like take a look as you're starting to use Teams, see what you can do, because that's the best way to learn how to use it. One really cool feature that Raphael just told me about yesterday is if you want to send a message, you just have to hit enter, or you could hit this little kind of arrow symbol on the right. But if you right click it, you can actually schedule what time you want the message to go out if you do not want it to be immediately, which I actually think is very cool. If you're doing a project that might include some off hours work, but you don't necessarily want to message everyone when they're not working, you can, if you're working off hours, you can make sure that everyone gets that message maybe at 9 a.m. the next morning. So you're not pinging everybody very late into the evening. And then I'll just send my message and we're having our conversation. You'll also notice here at the very top, there are also some very handy buttons. Again, anybody in this chat, so right now it's with Raphael, I could start a video call or an audio call. We were talking again about those ad hoc meetings. This is how you would do it. You'll find that, you might end up using this quite a bit if you're, having very in-depth discussions through Teams. You can also do screen sharing right here with this button, very similar to Zoom. And you can also pop out your little chat window here in case you needed to keep it separate for, to manage your desktop. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Raphael. If I wanted to add more people to this conversation, there's a little button right here that says add people. And I can just start typing in their names, and those people would be added to the conversation. So we can just kind of keep everything going. We don't have to stop and start a new conversation anywhere within Teams. We could do it right here and just keep everything going seamlessly. So that's really nice. Let me move back over to activity since that has a little icon there. So as you start using Teams a lot, you'll find yourself, like me, part of many, many conversations, and it can feel a little overwhelming, especially if you feel like you're missing conversations or maybe where you've been mentioned, and maybe you are wondering, how do I make sure I manage that and I don't miss anything? Activity right here, this little bell icon, is a great way to keep on top of that stuff. So activity shows you like anything recent that's happening within the teams you might be a part of, within conversations you're a part of. When people are responding with emojis, I get notifications here, and it's all in one place, so I can go look. And if there's anything that I was concerned that I missed, a message or anything, I could toggle this unread only and see any message that I may have missed that may be important to me and just check it out there. One other thing is that this can also seem a little overwhelming. So maybe, what if I was just interested in recent activity from Raphael? There's a little icon here that looks like a filter, and I could just type his name. And any mention of Raphael recently will show up right here. It'll be highlighted, and I can, see if that pertains to me and click on it, and it'll show up right here in this window. There's also a gear icon here that goes to settings, and I'll talk about that closer to the end of the session about how you can manage notifications and things like that. Let me head over to Teams because that's the reason that we are all here. So if you want to create a team for, let's say you're working on a project with like 10 other people, right? And you want this little space online where you can all talk whenever you need to, and it's kind of compartmentalized in this one space, right? This is my dashboard, and these are all of the teams that I am a part of because somebody invited me or because I created the team. And I can access them at any time through this Teams icon right here. And you can also manage the teams you're a part of as well. So I've created this one called Drupal Training Project. And if I click on this little icon here on the right, I can manage my team from here. I can add members from here, edit things. I can get a link. So if I wanted to, send it out to people so they could join it, they can. And I can delete the team entirely. And this is only because like I own this one. So that's why I have the ability to delete the team. But this is where you can, by clicking this little 3-dot menu icon, this is where you can kind of manage your teams directly from the dashboard. Right here is where you can either join or create a team. So let's do that together. So here's the icon to create a team, but a really quick note, you may see that there are some public teams that you can join because the owners have made it that way in their settings. So if somebody wants to join, they can. And also, if you ever get a code that says, hey, join my team, this is where you would enter it. All right. I'm going to create a team today, but I want to create a private team that's only for those 10 people or so that, I want to be part of it. So let's create it together. These options right here are templates. Other is kind of a more basic build from the ground up team, which I'm going to show you how to do. The other ones like class and staff, those offer some tabs that we'll go into that you may not need, like for OneNote for classes so that you could take notes and things like that. Certainly feel free to explore these if you want to test them out and see what each template offers. But for the purpose of this demonstration, we're just going to go with other and build everything from the ground up. So let's give our team a name. I'm going to call this Tech Tuesday 2023. And you can add a description of what this team is about. So we're going to say Tech Tuesday is awesome, I guess. That's what I think anyway. And we can select the privacy level of our team. So you can have a private team or a public team. Remember, if it's public, anybody's going to be able to sign in and be part of your team. And you may not want that. So in those cases, you're going to select private and hit next. And this is where you can start adding people to your team. So Raphael is going to be part of my team for now, and I'm going to add him. Notice how I just typed in his name and I found him. I'm going to add him there, and I can decide whether I want Raphael to be a member or an owner of the team. So a member is just somebody who participates in the team. They can, share files, have conversations and things like that. But the owner can decide like who joins the team, like they manage the membership of that team. If they need to change settings about the team, that's what the owner would do. I would recommend in a lot of cases, if you do have a team with a lot of people on it, it might be helpful to have a co-owner so that, you're not the only one who, has access to, the settings, especially if you're not there for whatever reason, like you might be on vacation or just out of the office and somebody might need to change settings about your team. So, somebody you trust might be a very good co-owner. So I'm going to make Raphael just an owner just in case he needs to demonstrate anything. And I'm going to close that for now. And now I have my team. Right now it just has Raphael in it. Oh, did you want to say something, Raphael? I'm sorry.
Real quick, there was a relevant question. If you could maybe jump back to where you created the new team, what the starting point was.
Sure. So right
at
here,
the bottom, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back just to the teams icon. And this is where all the teams are that you're a part of. And if you want to create a team, it's right here. Join or create a team. It's that button right there.
Great. Thank you.
No, thank you. I'm going to go back into my team that I just created. So one thing about teams is that they all have a general channel, meaning it's kind of like an upper level chat where everybody who is part of the team can discuss things. But you may find that you want sub channels to discuss maybe specific things about a project. One example I could think of is for SmartFest, for example, we had different volunteer teams. So we had a general team, but we also had a volunteer team that I'm going to add a channel for that handled technology needs for the event. And I can decide, to write a description about what this team is about. I can decide the privacy if everybody on the team has access or maybe specific teammates do. And I can handle all that from here. But for, just for time's sake, I'm going to just add that channel. And it shows up right there. So you can, organize your conversations into multiple channels so that if you need to discuss specific things, we also had a food team. So I'm going to add that one because it was my favorite. You can just add channels as needed. You'll also notice that these have those 3 dots that you can manage each channel. So you can hit this gear icon to go into your settings. You can send a link to the channel. You can edit it or delete it entirely. You can even control the notifications that you get from the channel, which I'll get into in a little bit. And add connectors, which are just other apps integrations that you could add to a particular channel here. So here's a few there. I will say when it comes to apps, here's another location for them right here on the left. Some apps are available to download for integration, and others require admin approval. Just due to our security settings at the college, we want to make sure that if you do want to install an add-in, that it's not going to compromise our environment in any way. So you can make a request through Teams to get access to that application. And, somebody from, I believe, Raphael's team usually, reviews it and can decide whether to give you access or not. So just something to keep in mind when you're looking at apps and add-ins for Teams.
I'm sorry,
go ahead.
Real quick, just to jump in. So yeah, because Joel actually had a question about that. And so yes, my team would review. Also, sometimes there's a security review because these apps and connectors are sometimes third party, and there may be a security nuance there to be reviewed. Joel's question was also about project management type apps. So I would definitely a good starting point would just be to add a tab. Some of the default apps that are already available in tabs might be like Planner, I think is one of them, unless they changed it. Or something similar to that. And you can look into the add-ins as well. And again, Joel, feel free to, just shoot us a ticket and we'll help you look into that.
Thank you so much for taking that one on. Yeah, there's a lot of available add-ins that you can integrate as part of Teams, and Raphael's team is definitely the right place to go to ask questions about that. So just like a regular chat that I had with Raphael earlier, actually, let me do this in the general. I can start a conversation here, welcoming everybody to the team. And because Raphael is part of this team, he can start conversations with me as well. And we can discuss any project that we're working on in this little kind of subset of teams that, only we and anybody else we decide have access to. If I want to change things about this particular team, like adding members and things like that, again, 3 dots, I can manage the channel. And I can decide who gets to post messages. Like maybe I want anyone to do it, or maybe it's only for owners. Like maybe it's kind of an announcements channel where only the owners can do those types of things. And you can see analytics. Obviously, I just opened this, so there's not going to be much going on, but you can definitely check things like engagement. And if I go back to my channel here, I can click on this icon right here, this information icon, and I can see the members that are here. I can add new members at any time by clicking that little icon right there and typing them in. One question I know that Raphael gets a lot is, can I add outside collaborators from other institutions that we work with, NYP, for example? So there is a list of domains that, Raphael, do you want to go ahead and answer?
Oh, sure, I can jump in and help you with that, Vanessa. Yeah. So yeah, at this point, we have added a lot of external domains that we're allowed to collaborate with. So all educational entities, so any school, basically any domain that ends in .edu is allowed by default. Then we have all our primary partners like NYP, Columbia, Cornell University, etc. Right? Those are already allowed, as well as many of the larger vendors and other health institutions. So there is a list. If you submit a ticket or look up the knowledge base article in self-service ServiceNow. Otherwise, feel free to just open a ticket and we'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, there is a really helpful KB article that Raphael's team put together, and I'll definitely send it in the follow-up email. It's a very good list that just shows all of the institutions that you can add as guests. So you might have seen while Raphael was talking, I added a guest user with an nyp.org domain. So they'll have access to this, if they were a real person, rather, they would have access to this team and they could collaborate just like everybody else. Again, there's that big icon at the top if you wanted to start an ad hoc meeting, although be mindful that it would start a meeting with everybody who happens to be in this channel. So make sure that you actually want to talk with everybody there. because right now we only have Raphael in here, but if there were several people in here and I wanted to pinpoint Raphael specifically, I could use the @ symbol and start typing his name. And you'll notice that his name is highlighted. So he would get a notification that I am trying to reach out to him specifically, and he would be able to realize that, oh, Vanessa is trying to reach me. And, you know, when I have a moment, I can answer her. So definitely, you know, when you are in a big group of people having a conversation, use that @ symbol, use the messages to just kind of streamline the conversation and point to the people who you may need answers from. And that will turn on their notifications so that they can reply back. And one really quick thing about Teams, because I know we're running low on time, you'll notice these tabs at the top. So right here, we are in the post tab where I can see all of our conversations. There's also a files tab. So any files that happen to be shared in any of our conversations will be here so that I can look at them later. You can also add different tabs, you know, that might be useful for your team. So for example, if I wanted to reference the ITS website, for example, so that people can look at it whenever they need to for this particular team. Oops, cornell.edu. There we go. I have that tab now that lives at the top of our team, and anybody can access it at any time to look at the ITS website. Another really helpful one is that I find helpful, at least, is SharePoint, especially for a big project where everybody needs to collaborate and share files. You get a lot of prompts, for example, for sharing, you know, stuff on OneDrive or SharePoint. And, you know, I just want to make like a document repository. We just sign in really quick. I think I'm going to get a Duo prompt, which is okay because it's secure. Let me save. There we go. So now I have this repository available called Documents that anybody that is on my team can take a look at. And you'll see that Teams has kind of set up folders based on our little sub-channels right here. So I can go into General maybe. I can create a new Word document, for example. And this will be shared with anybody in the team. So right now, it's opening my Word application. Again, we've talked heavily about integration. And there it is. All right. And I can say, hello, testing. And then it's saving automatically into that SharePoint site. So I don't have to worry that, you know, I'll accidentally close it and I'll lose all the information. And Raphael should have access to it, and he can collaborate on this if he wants. Raphael, I don't know if you see it right away or if you want me to kind of move on to the next thing for time's sake.
Yeah, I do see the document, and I opened it on my
Oh, there we
side.
go.
And actually, someone had this question where, you know, if we can show the real-time sort of collaboration. So let me see if I can make a quick change to
Yeah, there we go.
document from my side.
So you can see where it says RS, that's Raphael Supa, and he is typing in the document. And if we wanted to, we could work together this way on, you know, a document that I may have put together that I need edits on. And his little icon is right here. So I know that he is in the document right now and is making changes to it as we are talking. And everything is being saved automatically, so you don't have to worry about any of that. So that's an example of how that real-time collaboration works within Teams. Thanks, Raphael, for
Right. And just to add, this is just because, you know, you created or shared the document in the Teams file repository here, and I opened it, and you can open it either, you know, within the Teams interface as the other user, or I can open it in the web app for Office 365, which is another option for opening the document, right? Or the full Word application on my desktop. Either way, it's all connected to O365 and enables you to collaborate.
Thanks. I'm going to move really quickly to notifications. So here, another 3 dots on the top right. Let's go into our settings really quick. So as you become part of multiple conversations and team groups, you may feel like there's a lot going on and you want to manage the notification windows that show up at the top of your screen. You can go to your settings, and right here, notifications, you can control how you're notified for any mentions that you receive and things like that. So for example, example, if you miss a Teams message to you, you can decide if they are just emailed to your Outlook so that you don't miss one. You can decide if you get it every hour, immediately, as soon as it happens, or maybe you don't want them at all. I recommend maybe daily. I don't know why I have it set once every hour. I should set it to daily. And I can get kind of a feed of everything I might have missed during the day and can respond to when I have a moment. You can also decide, if you want to get a notification for every single thing that happens in Teams, you can certainly do that right here by clicking all activity. You can limit it to maybe just mentions of your name, that @ symbol. If somebody's trying to contact you, maybe you just get notifications for that. And obviously you can customize it to be whatever you want right here. You can decide if you want things in your banner and feed, only show in your feed. You can just take a look at this when you have a moment and do anything you want. Again, you can edit notifications for different things, chats, meetings, all sorts of things. One thing that I do like is if you head under privacy, you can set your status to do not disturb in Teams, but if there are particular people that you really would like to see their messages, even if you are on do not disturb, you can have priority access. So for me, I have my colleague who I talk with all the time. If I'm on do not disturb and she needs to reach out to me, fine. I've also got 2 managers here that if they message me on do not disturb, I'll at least get a notification that they're trying to reach out to me, no matter what I'm doing. So that's another way that you can kind of manage like who gets access to you, however you need it to be. And there are obviously a lot of other things that you can manage in your settings. And I definitely encourage you to take a look when you have a chance. Right here, you'll notice my little icon right there. This is where you can change your status setting. This is connected to your Outlook calendar, by the way. So if you are in a meeting, for example, this turns into red saying that you're busy. But if you wanted to change this manually, I could say that, please do not disturb me. And, I won't get notifications unless you were those 3 people that I have in my settings. You could say, I'll be right back. Maybe you're having some lunch. And you can also leave little messages. So I have one here that says, I'm in Tech Tuesday until 1, so I may not be able to respond. So if people try to type to me, they see that and they know, oh, okay, maybe I'll try to message Vanessa after 1 o'clock. And again, I think I mentioned before that you could save conversations. This is where you find them all right there under saved and they're bookmarked. And if you want to reset everything back to whatever status you have in your Outlook calendar, you would just hit reset status, and that would integrate back into what you've got in your calendar. Really quickly, calendar. This basically, again, integrates with your O365 calendar and Outlook. Everything I've got in that calendar is here. You can set up meetings from here, but I would really recommend not doing that. It's already integrated with your Outlook. I would just do it from there. And again, Teams is much better for ad hoc meetings at the end of the day. So if you want to plan a meeting, I would recommend doing that through Zoom. But if you just want to have a quick convo with somebody, do that with the little icon in your conversation. For calls, you can have one-on-one calls with like team member to team member. My setup might look slightly different because I have a service called Teams Voice. That's a paid service that is basically a virtual phone. So it's a little different. It might be worth looking into if you basically work like a hybrid schedule or fully remote and you don't need a traditional desk phone. I can certainly send information in the follow-up email so that you can take a look at it and decide if that's something you're interested in. You can reach out to our phones team and get that set up for you. And then we have files. So this is every single file that I have shared or that people have shared with me in Teams. I can find them right here. I can, do a search here or look at, downloads and things like that. There's a lot going on. And there's also finally apps, which I mentioned earlier. Again, there are some apps that you may not be able to download right away. So for example, this one, Viva Insights, has a little lock on it. So if I try to install this one, you'll see a little note there that says request approval. So I can click that and that notification would go probably to someone in Raphael's team or someone on our tech side to review it and make sure, again, that it meets our maybe your security standards or things like that before you're given access to it. So that is a lot in a nutshell. Oh, really quickly too. One thing that's really helpful in Teams, because there's so much going on, is shortcuts. And the way you can access that is by hitting \. And these are a whole bunch of commands that you can do in Teams to kind of quickly find things you need. So for example, I'm on like a million chats right now. But if I wanted to find something specifically, I can use this command, for example, find. And I'm going to go into a team that I use a lot where we do photo challenges. And I'm going to look up the phrase week of, because every week we have a new photo challenge. And if I hit that, you will notice on the left-hand side, every chat in that team where week of appears. So I can see the different challenges that we have done to make sure that I am not giving something that's like a repeat of what we've done in the past. That's just one example of like how the shortcuts can help you. I know we're at time. I can stay on for a few minutes if you can, Rafael, if there are any questions or something I might have missed that you want to
Yeah,
address.
there are a couple of questions that I wanted to maybe discuss. If people can stay on a couple of minutes, we can save those. We'll try to get to everything. And I answered a bunch of them, as
Perfect.
in
Thank
real
you.
time. Yep. Did we go ahead into the questions, Vanessa?
Oh,
or do you
yeah.
have-
Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay,
go
sorry
ahead.
about it. Okay, yeah. So yeah, one question from slightly before was about the default file permissions. When you share files, I guess, or folders within a team. Andrew was saying that they seem to default to read only. So I think if it's shared within a team or a channel, all the members of that team should have editor rights by default. If you're not seeing that, Andrew, feel free to open a ticket or contact us and we'll look into it. But for all the members within a team, it should default where they can all collaborate on the file and be editors and not just read only.
Yeah.
Read only might be for like other guests.
Yeah, absolutely. And right here, I mean, if you want to check, for example, this was the document repository that I had set up in the team. If you want to look in the share option there, you can see like who you've shared with and who has access. And if you need to like kind of change things, you can do it here as well to provide, edit access for a new person if something is not working. Again, like Rafael said, you can reach out to our service desk for assistance, but you can also double check like who has access to it and like make changes that way.
Great. Thank you, Vanessa. Ronald had a question about, is there a way to allow channels in do not disturb mode, for example, major incidents? I think what he means by that is that if you are in do not disturb mode, can certain channels be allowed to, I guess, break that rule, right, and still notify you? I don't know of a way to do that right now. I think we may have to look into that.
Yeah, I would say, Ron, I think I know the situation that you're referring to as well, since we're on the same team. So what I do personally is I have Teams on my mobile device as well. And you can actually change the settings to be slightly different than they would be on your desktop, for example. So when I have to be on major incidents, for example, to make sure that, nothing is broken that we, that we support on our team, you can go into the settings and determine there whether you want things to be on do not disturb for that particular group, or if you want that only that group to have notifications, like same thing. You can do that from your phone as well. If you happen to be on call is what I'm assuming you're asking about. So if you want, we can talk offline about maybe the best way that works.
Okay, great. And let's get to, I guess, one last question if folks can hang on. There was a question about, or just a side sort of note, that sometimes when folks set up an invitation to a new meeting in Outlook, it seems to incorporate a default link to a Teams meeting by default, and that it kind of conflicts with, Zoom meetings, or if they want the meeting to be in Zoom. So I can say that, this was an issue a few months ago. So perhaps, if the meeting is older, it may still have that old link. There was an issue where meetings by default were incorporating a Teams link for the meeting location. We got rid of that. So if you're setting up the meeting through regular Outlook, that should be fine. You should be able to add a Zoom link, and it should not force a Teams meeting link in there. If you do set up the meeting through the calendar app within Teams, then yes, then a Teams meeting location link is set up by default, because it's the calendar within Teams, so it thinks that you're going to use Teams for that meeting. But Outlook should be fine. If that's still an issue, please feel free to open a ticket, and we'll try to help you.
Awesome.
So,
Any other questions or anything else that I might have missed that I should show really quickly, Rafael?
I think that's it. Thank you very much, Vanessa. I think we covered most of the questions, and looks like we're good.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I know this is a lot, especially kind of as an overview for Teams. But again, we're going to send you this recording so you can go back through it and look at anything that you might have missed. And again, we'll send you a bunch of links on, maybe the best use cases probably of how you would use Teams, so that you could take a look at it and determine if it's going to help you in your day-to-day work at Cornell. So again, thank you guys so much. Thanks to Rafael, who definitely helped me answer a lot of these questions and pointed out really important things about the app, and have a really great day.
Take care.